హలో గైస్, మీరు జాబ్ ఇంటర్వ్యూకి ప్రిపేర్ అవుతున్నారా? జావా, ఎస్క్యూఎల్ లాంటి కోర్సెస్ నేర్చుకోవాలనుకుంటున్నారా? అయితే నా ఛానల్ సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకొని పక్కనే ఉన్న బెల్ ఐకాన్ క్లిక్ చేయండి. నేను వీడియో పెట్టగానే మీకు నోటిఫికేషన్ వచ్చేస్తుంది.
Next is Java static keyword. So when we are creating the variables, we saw three types of variables: global variables, local variables, and static variables. So that time we discussed about global and local. Static keyword. Now we will explain what is static keyword. So static variable is also, we discussed that day, it's like a global variable only, but just we will give static name. So I will create one more here, package. Let's say I will create one normal variable, public integer id equals to 101. So that day we discussed whatever we give inside the class, that is a global variable. Now another global variable, but if we use the static keyword, it will become static. So public static integer, so id 2. So we will say this is id 1, which is a normal global variable. This is a 102. So the name is also coming differently. Now we will see this is global variable. So these two are different. Why these two are different? We can create like this only, right? Why we are creating static variable even though it's a global variable? We will see why. So static keyword in Java is used for memory management. So why that memory management we will see in the example. So this static keyword we can use for any variables. We can use for methods also. So the main method is a static method. So this is also one of the important interview question. Main method is static method or not? They will ask this. So main method is a static method, and we will see few more points about the static keyword. So Java static variable. If you declare any variable as static, it is known as static variable. So this is a variable. We declared it as static. So it became static variable. So why this static variable we will use is, now just comment this one. We don't have any static variable. We will see without static variable how the system works. Then we will see with static variable how the system works. So there is it has some constructor also. Let's say static example, right? So static example constructor. We are increasing id1 plus plus. So what we are doing? 101 it is. So we are incrementing one. 102. Sys out id1. So we are printing. Simply we are not doing anything. We created one constructor. In that constructor, we like id1 is there. We incremented it. Now what we have to do? We have to use that constructor object. So static example, any name we can give, new static example. So first what it will do, it will create object, it will go to the static example constructor, it will execute this code. Because initially we are calling this method, right? While creating object, this method is called. So id1, it will get increased by one value and it will be printed. So it is 102. Why it became 102? So this is 101. So 101 plus plus 102 is printed. Now we will create one more variable, one more object. Example one. Example one. Example. So we have created one more. So again, it is printing 102. It is not getting increased because every object is independent. So what will happen is when we created the first object, in this object, the value became 102. 102. And the next when we created, so here we are having 101, right? So in the constructor we are incrementing, so it will become 102. Even if you create one more object, it will become 102. If you create one more object, it will become 102. Because every time we are creating new. So new variable. So imagine there is a situation where one employee joined. So first we have given, so every time instead of entering the employee IDs in the system itself, we thought we will increase automatically one by one. So for the first employee, when he entered, we will give 101. So obviously for the next employee, it should be 102. For the next one, 103. So first time when we created, it became 102. Second object we created, that time also it became 102 because it's a different two instances, right? It is taking 101 only. Even if you put example 2 and create new object, it will be 102 only. It won't get increased. That's how the normal instance variable works. Now, instead of using the instance variable, whatever the ID1 we have given, right? We will give ID2 here, which is static variable. We will see how it works. Now, even if we create this, let's run this. So first time it became 103 because we have given 102, right? Let's give for this 101 only. Now run this. 102. Next time it became 103. Last time it is 102 only. This time it became 103 because static variable means when we create normal instance variable, every time new variable will be created. So starting that value will be 101. Next time it will be 102. So next time when we created another variable here, another the object here, that time again the instance variable again it will become 101. Then it will start to 102. If we create one more object, again the instance variable value will be 101 only. But with static, what will happen is first time it is 101. Next time when we increased it, it became 102. So next time when this again gets increased, it won't become 101. Whatever the value 102 is there, right? It will hold the same value in the memory. So that's the difference between static variable and global variable. Global variable, every time it will starts new. But static variable, whatever the previous value is there, it will hold that value. So when we changed, it became 102. So next time it won't become 101 again. It will have that 102 value in that only. Then again it will become 103 if you increase. And if you increase again, it will become 104, 105, 105 like that. So that's how the static variable difference. For memory management, this will works. This one, every time it will create new memory and it will starts with 101. But this one, only one variable is created, 101. If you increase it, that 101 will be changed to 102. Instead of creating new variable, it will be increasing. So for that memory management, this static variable is easy. Now we saw in the previous example, any variable if you want to use, we need to create the object for it. Then only we can use, right? In the previous example, we saw any method or any variable if you want to use, we should create a constructor object, then object dot, if we give that name, it will come. But static variable, you don't need to create any object for that. So you can directly use that variable. But how we can use this? Class name dot that variable. Directly it will print. So I will show you that example. So say for example, if you want to use this ID1, see you have this ID1. If you want to use this ID1, how you can use? You need to create the object for the static example. Then that object dot ID1 you have to give. So we saw in the previous example, we created employee number. And how we used that employee number? So we created employee and then employee dot employee number we have to give if you want to use our print. But static case, you don't need to create the object. So directly you can give static example dot. So you can see ID2 here and it is showing yes also, means static variable. So you don't need this example and all. Even if you don't have all these ones, that's fine. id2 initially what we declared 101. So we didn't create any object, right? So this code won't get executed because we didn't create any object. So id2 will have 101. Directly we can access. So 101. But same way we cannot use 101, ID1. So if I try to give ID1, it won't take because it's an instance variable, right? So it's a global variable. Apart from static variables, if you want to use any other variables or methods, you need to create the object. Only static variables has this unique feature where you don't need to create the object. You can directly use the class name. So that's why we can directly create. So that's why static variables or methods are called class level. Some next thing called static method. So static method means this method will automatically call, like you don't need to create the object. So directly class dot that method you can call. In that method, you can increase the value like plus plus. See, for example, you have some static method. Normal method, how we will create public void method name. Same way we have to create, but public static. If you use the static keyword, it will be a static method. Increase. So id2 plus plus. So whatever the code we have written in the constructor, we have written in the same place. So now instead of doing like this, you can call that method, static method. So it will automatically internally increases that value. Then the id2 will become differently. Now we can send some name. Rahul, we are sending. So now we are creating an object by sending one value, name. So now one object will be created with this name and it will have ID2. So ID2 initially it will have 101. Now it is like 102, 103. So if you call this method, it will be increased. Or else if you don't call also, that's fine. You can give ID2 plus plus. Then you can remove this method. This method is not required because whatever the logic we are writing in this, we are writing in the constructor only. Now, every time you call the constructor, Rahul will be created and it will have the ID is also increased. So you don't need to increase the ID. So now with this example, we will see what will happen. So we have created one object with name Rahul. Now the ID is 101, right? Now it will be increased to 102. For Rahul, the ID2 is 102. Now, so we have printed ID2. Now we will create one more object, static example, example 2 or something. So new static example. We will send some other name this time, Rohit. Example dot ID2. So last time for Rahul, what the number we will see, and for the other one we will see. So 102, 103. Because for Rahul, when we entered, we increased the ID here. So 101 to 101 it became. So if we put 200, so it will be 101 for Rahul. So next time when we are creating the object, so we are creating different object, but ID is same. So it's not retaining the same value, right? It's increasing. So 101 for Rohit, it became 102. Next, if we put one more thing, the 103, 104, like that, it will get increased. We are creating new objects, but the value we are using only ID2. So it's not creating every time new. The previous value only it is holding. First time it is 100. For Rahul, it became 101. Now for Rohit, it became 102. Now if we create one more object, the ID will be increased to 103 and whatever name we will give, that object will have that value. So like this, we can use. So we can create all the things together. Whatever we learned previously, all those things we can add here. So we added normal variables, we added static variables, and locally also we can create some local variables. Then we used constructor. Then we are using some static method here, main method. If you want to use one more other method, some print normal methods, that also you can give. So all those things you can write in one class. In real time, in a class, you can see static variables, global local variables, static methods, normal methods, all these things you will see. And you will see normal constructor, parameterized constructor, all these things. So these all things will come in a class. So one by one we will learn, right? So in the end, we will put all those things together and we will create a complete class. I will explain you with real-time example also how real-time class will be displayed.